All righty, everybody. Welcome. JasonFinalExpense.com. We're sitting here with Nick Williams from the Medicare Millionaire. Going to have some fun today. Nick, say hello.
Hello. How are you doing, Jason? It's good to be here with you today.
Good to see you. I know, you do some amazing stuff in the good old Medicare space. And, share with us your background. Like, how long has it been, since you got into the industry? How long has it been for you?
Well, it's interesting. Well, not interesting, but it's interesting to me. It goes back. I go back over 30 years. August of 1989, first getting contracted and licensed in Baltimore, Maryland, to sell life insurance. And I started selling. I was a financial planner, and I would sell mostly whole life and universal life. And I've said before that that's probably a tough sale. Us in the final expense space and in the Medicare space, man, we got it easy. Go ahead and try to sell a whole life policy.
Right?
That's really, when you're sitting down with mom and pop and you're going over their educational expenses and retirement costs, and you're trying to sell them a $400 or $500 a month whole life policy, or some people are selling them. I didn't get into the thousands of dollars a month policies, but some people are making big sales out there, making big money. But anyhow, that's another topic for another conversation. But that's where I started, and I did that for quite a while.
That's some background. I mean, those are the big whales. I mean, they're amazing when you land them.
Yes,
man, you see those guys chargebacks hit, and it's like, oh, pucker up. I mean, that one hurts.
Yeah,
like,
I used to call it elephant hunting, and I've heard this analogy before. It's like you need a rabbit gun on your back. You need to be shooting rabbits. You can't go elephant hunting all the time. I remember back in the day, I used to chase deals. I was up in Delaware trying to sell DuPont, the state of Maryland Municipal Employees Union, big corporations. I actually had made a couple sales, and those are hard sales to make. But the biggest sales I never made, and I'll get an interesting story. One time I had made a sale, and it was to the state of Maryland Municipal. Oh, no. It was a company called Polyseal. I had sold them, and they came back later after the sale was made, after we had pretty much concluded, had enrollment dates, because it was an employee enrollment to supplemental health insurance plans. And they called me up and said, the deal is dead. The union got involved, and we have to stop right now.
Ouch.
Yes. And I was like, yeah, baby, because it was a home run.
Yeah.
It was going to be, okay, we're going back 25 plus years easily. And it was going to be like, $75,000, $80,000 a year off of that one deal, with constant enrollments on all new employees coming in. And, but it was a union thing. And the guy said, and I was like, but, and the guy was like, Nick,
right?
It's dead. And the guy liked me because I was a young guy and I was working hard, and he kind of, he really wanted to give me the business, and he felt bad about it, but it was like, it was a union thing. And basically what the union said was that if in fact, because there used to be called an earned income credit. I don't know if you've ever heard of such a thing. Have you? You've heard of that?
Yes.
But anyhow, and it was like about $40 a month that somebody on a lower tier of income could receive from the government as an earned income credit. Well, the union came in and said, I know we're on a tangent here, but this is interesting. The union came in and said, if that earned income credit ever goes away, we need it contractual that you will continue these benefits. So, and they, you know what? The earned income credit did go away. So that company made the right choice,
Right. Like, what's the old adage? Pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered.
Yes,
we go for the big one, right? It's so good, but it's like they can hurt you.
Yes, yeah. So what happens is, and I see it, and you've seen it. I'm certain you've seen it, Jason. When you got a final expense agent and they start selling annuities, what happens to them?
Oh, you get that one big annuity, and it's like you forget about all the rabbit hunting.
Oh,
who you are. And
yeah,
it's like,
you know what?
annuity agents that are starving right now, seriously starving, because
Yes.
they followed a model that was not sustainable.
That's right. And here's the thing. You make $7,000, $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 on that annuity, but you stop everything you're doing. You start shopping rates, indexes. You want to find out what the spreads are, whether they're using, the S&P or the Dow or some Lehman Brothers thing. Lehman Brothers doesn't exist anymore, but
Right.
they went down into a crash a long time ago. But they start. You're looking at all these things. What are the guarantees, and what are the payout schedules, and fee, all that stuff. And basically, your whole business shuts down, and you could have made 7, 8 sales for final expense or Medicare in that window of time. And both those final expense sales and those Medicare sales, having good contracts, are going to be worth probably $7,000.
And isn't it true, Nick, in your experience, that a lot of folks that go after the big whales for the whale hunting, I know I found it in my own life that if you focus on something else that's not the fundamentals, your fundamentals get rusty. Have you found that to be true as well with some of the folks that you deal with?
Yes. If it's not top shelf, it's not happening. It's like you need to keep things. Now, okay, I think people are different. But I know if I'm not using a tool, I'm losing the tool. And
right.
That's and I'll get away from, like, I don't sell out in the field as much, hardly ever. I sold a policy a couple of weeks ago, but I just don't have to anymore. And and I put in decades of hardcore sales. And now I have a luxury where I have an organization that I don't have to sell in the way that I did before. Man, I tell you what, it's like, now I never lose. I have one thing that I know, and I know well, and that's the Medicare sales presentation. But a lot of these other things, like I sold annuities. I used to do 3 seminars every month. Even in the midst of my Medicare business, I was doing 3 annuity seminars every month. I couldn't tell you what's going on in that business. I have no idea. I mean, I understand fundamentally, and I could go in and I could stand in front of a group and do a presentation, but I couldn't get into the indexes and the spreads and the payout schedules and all that stuff. You know how they do all that stuff with those annuities. I couldn't do, I consider myself a life insurance expert, but I'm out of tune with all of the dividends and all the, the interest rates that they're crediting and the loan charges. When you sell that stuff, you got to know all that stuff. If I'm not doing it, it's gone. And people do suffer, but especially, when and I say that, and the reason I brought that up is if anybody's watching this and they are looking at grabbing an annuity sale here or there or whatever, that they keep their eye on the prize. And that prize is more units, more sales. Every day they need to be making a sale. And or some people make a bunch of sales in 3 days a week or whatever it is. But whatever your focus is, you better stay on that focus and don't go off. Don't get somebody has $150,000 annuity and you say, wow, that's 6.5% commission. Oh my goodness, that's $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 or whatever it is. I don't know. And then you allow your business to suffer. In an ideal situation, you would turn that over to somebody who could put it all together for you and tell you what to do.
I mean, having good instruction.
So in that situation, you would just go get the documents, tell the client, say, look, I'm going to help you with this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these forms, whether it be Edward Jones or, SunTrust Bank documents, Bank of America. I think Bank of America has Merrill Lynch in there, but whatever it is, you say, I'm going to take these documents, I'm going to give them to our in-house pro, and they're going to tell me if we can help you or not. And basically you put that stuff in your bag predicated on it being okay with your client, and you get on down the road, and then you turn it over to somebody else that can do it. Don't worry yourself about it, and then just keep selling final expense. And then that person comes back to you and says, Nick, here's what you do. Here's how you sell this thing. Here's what you say. And, a lot of them even say, if you have a problem in the house, just give me a call, So that would be the more intelligent approach.
No, I agree with you completely,
Yeah.
Nick. That's great wisdom, buddy. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like you're like a jack of all trades and a master of none, right? And
Right,
it's so many, especially like brand new insurance agents. I always speak this and say, listen, your bandwidth is spread all over the planet here. You got to go like straight line. You got to go Ethernet cord, go one product, master it. And then, and only then, will you add another layer, right, to the cake. It's like, you got to have depth, because so many times it's like agents will attempt to master everything. And it's like, they've got a tower of cake with too much frosting. They're so spread over, and I think it falls over and they're getting hurt, right? It's like, this is not good, but it's like sometimes as new agents, I was guilty of it a little bit when I first started, right? I wanted to be, I want to master everything right now. And that was the biggest moment of stupidity when I first started. Is like, I just focused on Medicare like you, or just focused on final expense at first, or done something that was like very myopic. It makes you more powerful, because you're right. Once you quit doing something, I mean, you can't train to what you don't know, first off. But if you're just barely knowing enough to get yourself into trouble, as opposed to having so much authority and so much confidence, like in your Medicare space, to know what you know, and to know also what you don't know, because you've got wisdom.
Here's another thing. While we're shelling out wisdom, if you are if you look at baseball players, and I always do like Barry Bonds, this guy was smacking home runs like nobody's business, but he was also hitting off a tee in practice. And so it's the basics. Always focus on the basics. And I'll give you an example of this. Okay. I'm very good at selling Medicare in a house and transitioning to final expense. Okay. So I have a transition that I use, and whether I sell or don't sell, of course, you can't do that after you sell Medicare Advantage. So I don't need the comments to say you can't do that, but you can't sell final expense after selling Medicare Advantage. But anything but that, you just say, look, I'm glad I could help you here today. And I want you to know that I could help you with any of your insurances, be it life, health insurance, anything along those lines. Having said that, what other insurance companies are taking money out of your checking account each month? And they'll hem and haw, and they'll be like, and you just put your head down in your book, or if you're over the phone now, a lot of people are, you just wait, and then they'll say at some point, well, just my life insurance. They say, well, who's that with? And how much death benefit do you have? How much is your monthly premium? Who's your agent? Why did you buy that plan? And then, hey, the cash register, did you hear that? But anyhow, but it's that, so it's these basics, it's practicing that, okay, so that's just one transition, okay? But if you practice a transition and get really good at it, keep practicing it, keep using it in the field, on the phone, and then it will become fluid, and then it will become good. But what people do is, and okay, I'll give you an example of this. Again, as I said before, I had one agent in particular who was a great salesman. He did a great job. And I would start to tell him just what I told you, Jason. And he would stop me and say, I know, Nick. I know. But you know what? He got out of the business because he could, in the early year or two of selling Medicare, it's kind of imperative that you have the ability to transition, whether it be that transition that I just gave you, or maybe the transition to a hospital indemnity policy. Hey, your Medicare Advantage plan is just fine. Other than that hospital, a daily copay. So let's fix that. Okay. But so you need to be able to make these transitions. And you need to focus on the same thing. What we do is repetitive, redundant sales. It's just like, as I said, Barry Bonds hitting home runs. If you want to hit home runs, you keep hitting off the tee, keep practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing and practicing. And then you will become great. But if you sit there and say, I know how to do that. And then and I remember that one particular agent, and I would say it to him if he was here, because he's a friend of mine.
Right.
Here locally in Greenville. He's selling manufactured homes now. Well, he's doing a great job. He's a great salesman, but he's just hard-headed. And but he got out of the business because he couldn't make that those in that first year, and he did a great job, but he couldn't make those life insurance sales. And when you and a lot of agents, when they're out in the field, they're selling Medicare Advantage. If you don't sell the Medicare Advantage, or even if you do, you have that graded down commission schedule. So, but anyhow, the point is focus on the basics, focus on the fundamentals, repetitive. Don't think that you're too smart or everything, because what will happen is you'll find yourself stumbling, stammering, because you don't know what you're doing, because you didn't stay sharp, And that's so again, while you and I are kind of like discussing, best practices or giving advice to agents, that's the advice I would give them. Man, it's the same thing over and over. And once you got your presentation down, then your presentation. Well, maybe now you can start throwing humor into it. Maybe now you can start throwing like your tonality. I watched that, what's that Wolf of Wall Street guy, Jordan Belfort.
Yes.
Okay? I swear, at one point I said, he stole my stuff. if he wasn't around before me, I would say, actually, probably wasn't around before me.
Right.
Like, he'll use tonality. He has a series of videos on tonality. And that's what I always tell agents. It's like, hey, how you doing? Who sold you that plan? Why did you buy that? Hey, that's great. You got a great plan. You stay right where you are. However, I want you to know I can help you with any of your life insurance policies. Having said that, what other companies are taking money out of your account each month? So you move your voice up and down, modulation, probably better than tonality, modulation. But so there's so much to learn. And it's like people say, well, I got this. Well, no, you don't. If you had it, you wouldn't fail. And I'm talking to the 80% that do fail, right? Jason, so what do you think, Jason? I went on a roll there, didn't I?
Hey, but no, it's true. If you don't master the fundamentals, Nick, you're so right. Like, you either master the fundamentals or you let the business master you, and it'll school you hard. Like, learning the hard way is painful. It's like, I always, say, teach the teachable, reach the reachable. Okay. And there's a lot of folks out there that they want the success that you've got. They want the success, but they don't want to do what gave you the success. And that was a lot of repetition, practicing, drilling, rehearsing, and also just like humbling yourself to learn from people that are greater than you. Like, I'm not where I am in my career from doing it all, okay, without asking for wisdom from wise men and women before me. They have been able to impart things into me when I was brand new and I could barely even spell whole life or Medicare insurance, right? I didn't know what I didn't know, but yet I learned from people that were greater, and they were, thankfully, just a blessing in my life. And it really helped me as a new agent. And then now here I am all these years later, right? I've accomplished amazing things, but, we stayed in a state of learning. You can either do, a car, right, it goes forwards and backwards and has park. As an insurance agent, you don't get the luxury of the emergency brake or park. You're going two directions. You're going forwards or you're going backwards. Yes. Like, there's no middle ground. There just isn't. Even at where we are. No.
It is unfortunate that so many agents fail. And I do, I believe that it's a commitment. So agents, like, they'll say something along the lines of this, Jason, well, I'm going to give this a try. I'm going to check this out. No. Don't check it out. Do it. Burn the bridge behind you and go forward. Sometimes it makes sense. And sometimes you have real people that are pretty sharp and they transition, but they have that mentality where they're able to. But in most cases, you need to come guns blazing and bring that enthusiasm and everything. And this is my career now. This is what I do. This is who I am. It's not I'm going to give it a try. You know, that whole give it a try thing, it can be said many different ways, but you've heard that one, Jason, I'm sure. I'll give this a try. I'll see how this works out. You know, that is a loser's approach. That is a loser's approach. You're like, okay, I say you're like, you should be like, I am going to do this now. This is where the rubber meets the road. This is where I dive in 110% and knock the ball out of the park. This is going to happen. This is how this is going to unfold. And you come in and you just let it rip. And that's it. You don't have any reservations. You don't check it out. You don't try to see if this is a good market for you or whatever. I have agents. We have a company called Medicare Appointment Setters. And we do telemarketed leads, and we do it in a way where the agent runs the telemarketer. So it's very, very low cost, right? It does work. I have agencies that have at least 10 of these telemarketers going. And man, they just committed. They just did it. And they were like, they got 2, then they got 4, then they got 6, then they're at 10. But they never said, yeah, well, I'm going to give it a try. You know, I have agents right here in Greenville, South Carolina that, okay, I built my career on that in this market. I just did the telemarketers. I went out and saw the people because that was the more receptive, or I would say the more commonly utilized model of sales at the time was going to somebody's front door. Having said that, it's like, you know, it just works. If you do direct mail, it works. If you do telemarketing, it works. If you do Facebook sales, they work. Yeah, direct mail works. The thing is, you just have to. But okay, Jason, what it is a great lead. But when an agent does 1,000 and they don't make a sale, it's like
that's a technique issue right there. That's a training issue. If you do 1,000,
I know. It's like that's my point. But when you have agents that are independent, that will just say, well, I'll do 2,000 mailers. And then they do them and they're starting from scratch. They may not have sold final expense before. They're not really tuned up. They haven't done the batting practice, so to speak. And they go out and they I'll say half-ass it, right?
Right.
And it doesn't work out. And then they say, well, these aren't good leads. They drop out. You know,
it's always the lead's fault.
But those direct mail leads will work. Those telemarketing leads, it's the lead's fault, right? That darn lead.
It is. I mean, who knew that like you and I get the same leads that everybody else does? But
right,
you know, we close the business, but the leads are defective. Okay.
Right. Listen, I'll tell you something. I will kind of toot my own horn here a little bit. I started with in this business. Okay, I've been in sales for decades. And I told you it goes back to 89. I made a bunch of money. I started doing real estate investing, lending money to people buying investment properties, as many of us did. And it crashed, and I crashed with it in 2008. In 2009, I was driving down the road, and I saw a sign on the side of the road, "New year, new career." And it was AmeriLife. And I pulled on into their parking lot. Next thing you know, I'm selling insurance for AmeriLife as an agent. And every day they're very structured. Okay. And some people like AmeriLife, some people don't. That's not what this conversation is about.
Sure.
But so I was a career agent there. Every day you had to be in the office. So, and every day everybody had turned in their leads. So, and you got new leads. They give you 4 leads a day. That was the model. 4 leads, 4 telemarketed leads every day. And you got in your car and you went out and you sold insurance. But there was a bin, there was trays, there were several trays, and you could drop yesterday, you had to turn in your leads every day, and they were all marked up and stuff, and people turn in their leads. Well, myself and another agent or 2 would just grab those leads out of the tray, and we go run those same leads that people ran yesterday. And I say I toot my own horn. Within 9 months, I was running my own AmeriLife general agency. So I was running South Carolina, the upstate of South Carolina, for AmeriLife. That was the Asheville, North Carolina office. Because I just came in and tore it up. I had no, my back was against the wall. And I did not think, well, maybe I'll try this out. No, I went in there and I took over, I just did what I had to do. And then they basically said, hey, Nick, we'll open an office anywhere you want. Anywhere you want. And Greenville, South Carolina is really where my family is. And so I just said, well, Greenville, South Carolina, which is only an hour away at tops. And so that fast, because I just went in and started doing it. And the only difference between perhaps what I did and what somebody else is doing is, one, I had experience. And two, I worked till I was exhausted, because I had to. I had to. That was all there was to it. And that's where I rebuilt my career, in that office there with that company. I set the die was cast. I'm going to work like a dog every single day. So I would go from Waynesville, North Carolina. I would drive to Asheville, North Carolina. I'd get my leads and I would drive to South Carolina, run all my appointments, and then drive back to Waynesville, North Carolina. So I was driving like at least, I would say 3.5 hours every day. Every day. That's what I did. And sometimes I sold in the Western North Carolina area. I stayed there. But a lot of times I would go down to South Carolina and work. And then finally it paid off. I got my own office, And so, and again, it was just because, and it's all, I'm going full circle, Jason, back to those leads. It's those leads that the other person couldn't sell, right? Absolutely. And then what I would do when I would go out on the road, I would go out and beat on all those doors. And then I would go back to the start of my loop and go beat on all the doors again the same day. So it was like, I was like, because I may have like 8 leads, because I rated the lead bin, pulled out the ones I thought, well, this isn't really, whoever made these comments on this, I bet they didn't even go to the house. So, but anyhow, I'd get my 4 leads. I'd get about 4, 5, 6 more leads, and I would just run the leads, and then I would run them again. And how I'd go back a third time if they were close enough, in the same day. And that's, again, it's like I was committed. I had to do it, and I did it, So, it's kind of like putting myself on a little pedestal there. But there's nothing wrong with that. If you're good, you're good, right? And every agent should think of themselves as a star, as something special. You know what I mean? And when I say that, it's not like you have a superpower. It's none of that nonsense. Now they talk about having superpowers, Jason.
Right. Well, it sounds like from what I'm hearing is Nick, is this persistence, and you're right. Where you went and rated the trash bin, quote unquote, of the leads, like one person's garbage.
Yeah, I was a dumpster diver. A lead dumpster diver.
I love that story, Nick. When I started, it was the same way. Like people would ball up their leads, like they're paper leads, right? They call them hot leads. And they would just like you, they give you like 15 leads a week. They'd hand them to you, and they're hot off the copier. They were hot leads because they were just printed. Okay, they're actually physically warm, and they'd hand it to you. And then other agents at the end of the day would get disheartened, and they would seriously throw the lead in the garbage, balled up. And I'm like, veteran agent throwing leads away, and I'm like, I'm a brand new agent, okay, and I'm like, you don't want that? That's really garbage to you, like really? And like, no, I don't want that. This piece of beep lead, and they blah 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 blah. This is all negative talk. And I was the same way as you. I went and said, cool, I'm taking little snowballs of money to get the sprinkles out and go and making a pile of gold.
They crumbled them up so nobody could see what they threw away, right? It was the shame. It was a shame and embarrassment. I couldn't sell that, but I'm going to say it's trash.
Right? And it's like when you lack the resolve, when you lack the drive necessary to go do what, like where you were talking about, Nick, where you're going to that house 3 times, making sure that whatever you need to do, you're going to get a hold of this sweet customer. You're going to get a hold of this person. You're going to be persistent. I mean, that's power. I mean, the power of persistence is, and also where you talked about earlier, where you said, listen, I'm going to get into this and burn the ships. Okay. I'm going to get in a position where I'm not going to fail. Let's do this. I don't know if you find this as well, but I've got a stack of folks that try to work for me, and partner with me, and I won't hire them because they're just not a right fit. And a lot of people are not the right fit. They don't have that passion. They don't have a good heart. Sometimes they don't have character. Or maybe they just have a give up attitude very early on or can't follow instruction. But you got to be teachable. But isn't it right that like you get people that will hop into something and they've already got a foot out the door? It's like trying to start off a marriage when you walked up, to your wife, right, Nick? And you're like, hey, honey, go ahead and I'm going to get down on a knee and ask you to marry me. Let's have a marriage. But oh, by the way, okay, if you take off your left sock instead of your right sock, come out the door, sign the prenup. It's like be committed or don't.
Well, I think a lot of marriages are like that nowadays. This didn't work. but yes, you're correct, and that's a big problem with agents. And agents have a life cycle, and this is something that I've seen over again decades of working in sales. And they start enthusiastic, and that enthusiasm, Jason, you probably see where an agent does okay the first couple of weeks. They just tend to do okay often because they are excited, right? And they got nothing but time and they're pounding those numbers. And then there's a fall off. And then there's an excuse period because, okay, the enthusiasm carries them. And if once there's a hiccup, the enthusiasm goes away. And then there's almost like a complaint period or a gripe period, or some agents don't necessarily gripe and accuse in an accusatory manner, like the leads are no good, but they just get down on themselves. And then there's a struggle. And then it's like 6 months, they're gone. But I've seen agents go through that for a year. It's like, again, enthusiasm. And so enthusiasm and then adversity. And then, that strife, that struggle that people have, and then failure, then they're gone. And so I would say that that enthusiasm cannot wane. You got to keep be enthused, but you can outwork your deficiencies. So that's what I've found to be true. You can outwork your deficiencies. So enthusiasm is one thing. And that's when you call somebody up and you go, hey, Margaret, it's Nick Williams. You requested information. That's that enthusiasm. People are like, well, okay, right? Because you sound good. And you sound like somebody so she'll talk to you because an energetic, positive person that can carry you while you're figuring things out. But the hard work will carry you when the enthusiasm wanes, when you're like, hey, Margaret, you're a little more tired. But at hard work, you can outwork your poor delivery. You can outwork your shall we say your yourself get hard, and then what will happen is you'll get, and then success a year later I'm a producer, I'm a hitter, because you work through, that hard work. So, face it, a lot of us don't know everything when we start. And a lot of people have that, I'll call it that lack of confidence. So they don't have that inner strength, that confidence. Let me tell you something. You just work till your fingers bleed from hitting that number. I don't know. Does anybody punch numbers anymore? I don't think so. Clicking buttons or whatever.
There
you go. So if you work, you can outwork your deficiencies. There's this guy that I worked with before. He goes, what did he say? He always said, I know what will fix that problem. no matter what you said, like, oh, I didn't get my commissions. I didn't get the amount of money I was supposed to be paid. This person blew me off. Whatever. I got porched, whatever. My list is bad. This guy would always say, I know what will fix that. And, be like, what? Another sale. So sell more insurance. More sales fix everything. No matter what your problem is, more sales fix that problem. It ain't gonna fix your marriage, perhaps. But I'll tell you what, if you make a bunch of money, who knows? But
Right.
more sales fix all problems. And that's what people need to know. So you keep working hard. You have a problem. Oh, those were bad leads. Hey, more sales. My wife is pissed off at me because I'm not making money, or my husband's pissed off at me because I'm not making money. Well, more sales. That Jason doesn't support me properly. That Jason give me bad advice. Make more sales. Whatever your problem is, more sales is your solution. And how do you get more sales? You keep working harder. You grind and pound, and then you get lucky because you grind and pound. And then you get lucky, and then you have more luck, and then you start building on your skills, start getting better, but you're still working like a dog again. That's the way you do it. Or you're given a gift. And that is like, you can hit, like somebody's a natural home run hitter, or you're just a natural salesman. There are those people out there.